record, because if people are absent. Anyway, for those of you who just got here because you're watching the video, I'm talking about our solar suitcases. You'll figure it out. And here's a picture of somebody on the roof. Anyway, you get access to this document on the Google Classroom when I post it. So this year we received one solar kit that we're going to build and send abroad. I think I'm going to see if I can get a Make Two volunteer to do that, where I'd bring it by your house and you can put it together. We may be able to break it into pieces so multiple people can help. But in addition, this year we were sent the parts for 4 kits that we're going to build and keep at Annalee over the years, and we'll keep the kits charged and ready in case of emergency. So that's something that PG&E has particularly wanted to see happen this year. So in the past, we were sending these kits internationally or to other people in need. And anyway, I think it's fun that we're going to get to have 4 working kits that we'll get to keep at school forever. So as an aside, a year and a half ago or was it 2 years ago? It's hard to keep track, but when PG&E cut our power here for like a week and we had to evacuate, I went into school and got one of these kits and brought it home, and then I could charge my phone with it. It was awesome. Anyway, today to get started with this unit, we're going to discuss emergency preparedness and then talk a little bit about the solar kits. So and in the coming weeks, we're going to learn how solar energy works. I mean, you may already know, which would be great, but this will be a refresher. We're going to learn how to design a simple electrical circuit. And by the end of it all, everyone in the class is going to design their own solar suitcase or solar, emergency solar kit that would run whatever particular things you're interested in powering. So somebody sent me a private message here on the chat saying that they were wanting to make a portable battery charger for RC cars, which by the end of this, you will know how to do it, and you could definitely do it. We don't have enough money to buy the kits and have everybody do this, but anyway, it's going to be great. Along the way, you'll learn how solar power works, how simple circuits work, and you'll gain an appreciation of where your regular power comes from. We Share Solar is this group in Berkeley that, no worries. Well, We Share Solar is a group that makes and distributes these solar kits. They're based in Berkeley, and they were founded by actually a husband and wife team. The wife is a doctor and the husband was an engineer, and the wife was doing some work in Africa as a relief person, and found that if only they just had actually literally electricity and therefore light in many hospital situations, it would have saved so many lives. So the husband was like, well, I could make a solar kit. So then they got going, and anyway, it's, decade and a half later, they've got this great thing going. So, and then PG&E supports stuff like this because they like making sure America's youth, that's you, is educated about how the world works. So, all right, so I'm going to go through this presentation, and there's a point where I'm going to ask you to jot some things down, and then at the end, there's going to be a Google form that I want you to fill out. That's like your assignment for today. That'll be when we're done with the presentation. So we start with talking about disasters, a topic everyone loves. Just kidding. This is a chart covering United States disasters over the last 40 years. Wow, I was going to say 30 years, but from 1980 through, a year ago, showing the cost, billions of dollars of damages, the cost and the number of events. So I guess the graph on the left shows the number of events, and I mean the bar on the left and the bar on the right shows the cost in billions of dollars. So you can definitely see a trend here. And before I go to the next slide, if you would just think to yourself, I wonder why this might be. So don't say out loud or anything. Just think about it. You don't have to write anything down. Just We're just thinking for a second. Okay. I would assert, and I didn't make this slideshow, but the We Share Solar people, and I also am in agreement. I think climate change, is real, and it's leading to a lot more climate-based disasters. So, we've had wildfires. Oh my gosh, just so, the last 3 years have been so intense here in California and Sebastopol, Sonoma County with the fires. I mean, whether it was the 2 fires we had in Sonoma County, the 2 years we had terrible fires, or when we had the fires up in Chico, the year in between. And we also had flooding 2 years ago. Other parts of the country have hurricanes and tornadoes. They're just having more than a normal year, and then a normal time. I think it's something we're going to have to get used to, sadly, because of these increasing risks. It's important for us to be prepared for emergencies, and also to think about what it would mean to be resilient in the face of emergencies. So I want to talk about these 2 concepts. Emergency preparedness means being ready to handle an emergency, whether we're talking about if we're at school when it happens, or if you're at home when it happens. And a prepared community is equipped and ready to take care of everyone when there's a crisis. And disaster resilience means being prepared to recover from a disaster. So a resilient community isn't just destroyed because of a disaster, unless it literally was totally destroyed. But let's just say a resilient community will be able to recover more quickly than a community that is not resilient. So resilience is it's an interesting term, but I would define it as the ability to recover quickly and appropriately from a disaster. So what I want us to do as a class right now is just briefly discuss first, disaster preparedness. So just unmute yourself. What are some things that would be ways we could be prepared for an emergency? Just unmute yourself for me.
A saved fund for damage done.
So having some savings. Yeah, that's a great idea.
A to-go bag.
A go bag, yeah. I have a funny story. Go ahead. What?
Sorry, I think PG&E has said keep a list of all the stuff you need to grab and super safe, like passports or extra cash or anything.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I'm hearing you guys say all this, and I'm like, yeah, I should do that too. Any other ideas, Willa?
I guess you can have an escape route. I guess that's always good.
Yeah, have a route to escape. Plan a route. Go ahead, somebody else. Liam.
During more of a fire season, make sure that your cars always have gas in them.
Oh yeah.
Have your cars be in top shape so that you do have a way to get out if need be.
Yeah, that's a great point. You guys are doing great. Willa, another one.
This is also kind of just for fire season. Keep are you supposed to keep your lawn mowed, or you're
Oh yeah. Literally protect your perimeter, right?
Clean out your gutters and stuff.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, great idea. You guys, anyone have anything else? I'm very happy with your response. I'm not gonna diss third period, but they were just staring at me like, yeah, maybe if we don't speak, he'll just go away. And I'm like, I got all day. Anyway, they finally started talking.
If you have animals, make sure to have a way to transport them safely without causing mental or physical harm to them.
You said about animals or children?
Animals and children. If you have chickens, make sure to have rabbit cages or something to keep them in from hurting themselves. And
yeah
that you have access to horse trailer or access to somebody who has a horse trailer.
Yeah, man, that's those are huge things. Great.
Specifically for the fires, if
Uh-huh.
you want to be resilient, if you lose your house, you could invest in a trailer of some kind.
That is true. So let's move on to resilience. So resilience is like things that we could think about and do that would help us be prepared to recover from a disaster. So Jalen said, you know, having a trailer, having another place to live, you know, an alternate dwelling or acquiring an alternate dwelling, definitely a great way to recover. Other thoughts about recovering, being resilient?
I think a lot of people volunteer. There's like shelters too. I think there was one at Annalee.
Yeah. You know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they had the first fires through Santa Rosa, I volunteered at the shelter that multiple times. That was kind of scary, but also good. So, yeah, volunteering. People, other thoughts about resilience, like recovery, how we keep our community, school, and towns in good shape, or or even personally, how you could help yourself recover from a disaster.
Like I think maybe this might not actually be resilience, but maybe the preparedness bit, like have an emergency list of like your neighbors and stuff.
No, that's no, that's good. A lot of these things, there's some overlap, you know. So, you know, have a list of contacts. That's a great idea. I thought about you know, obviously having some savings. There's an idea, you know, having money saved up. We already said that about being prepared, but it's also true afterwards. Like if you have no money, if you don't have any money in the savings account and then something bad happens, you know, you're going to be in a tough spot. Yeah, these are good ideas. Anyone else? You guys are doing great. All right, we're gonna go on here. So I want you to we're just gonna take a couple minutes right now and write down your answers to these two questions. And then after the presentation, there's gonna be a Google form where I'm gonna ask you to, you know, put that information in along with a couple other small things. So just specifically like on a piece of paper or in an open another document on your computer and just type jot a couple of quick things down. What are two things that would help you personally be prepared for an emergency? And then also, what are two things that would help you be resilient if in the case of an emergency? So we'll just take a couple of minutes.
Could I put the same thing down for both categories? So like if I said like one thing I'd keep is a med kit, couldn't that also help me be prepared and resilient for
Yes, that'd be fine. I mean, I don't want everybody to just write the same things for both, but I think that's a very good point. A med kit is a great idea. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So you don't have to write, you know, complete sentences or anything. We're just making a couple things, two things that would help you be prepared for an emergency and two things that would help you be resilient in the face of an emergency. And then you'll save this. If it was on paper, it's easy enough to look at it later when you're typing, but if you have it in another document, you can just copy and paste. Okay, I think that was enough time. You'll have time to think about it later also. Okay, so then we're just going to talk a little bit about electricity and what the solar suitcases can do. So as you know, access to electricity is important for both preparedness and resilience. But then when you have a big disaster, you often lose power, right? That makes it pretty difficult. So here's a picture of literally the Delaware, the state on the East Coast after a big tropical storm. Obviously power lines not working so well there. You can define certain things as essential electricity. In most cases, you could say light is essential for safety and health. Communication, being able to call people on cell phones or use computers on the internet, potentially coordinate, things, find out information. And then some people are very dependent on specific equipment, to stay alive. So the medical issues, that would be essential. I don't know if you guys heard, but this week in Texas, it got so cold that a lot of the power stations actually shut down, like natural gas electrical generation plants shut down because the pipe with the natural gas froze and the gas couldn't run the plant, and then the electricity turned off, and there were millions of people in Texas without electricity in like 0 degrees below zero temperatures. And I don't know, over 20 people died. It was just a complete disaster. So you could also add, essential in the middle of winter would be some sort of heater, but we're talking about maybe where we live, where you're probably not going to die if your heater's out. Anyway, obviously electricity is essential in terms of being prepared for an emergency. And I told you already, we have these 4 solar suitcases that we're going to build. I would love it if we could build them. What if we got to go back to school in April or May? Then we would build these things in person. It would be awesome. But we may have to do it all virtually. But in any case, we're going to be, one of the things we're going to work on is coming up with some sort of school plan for what to do in case of an emergency. We're going to have these 4 solar kits. So this is a picture of one of the kits. You already saw one in that Kenya document, but over on the right, there's a light bulb, and then you see a cell phone is being charged in front. And the suitcases are set up to be able to do essential power needs. So they won't run your refrigerator or a heater or air conditioning, but they can do all kinds of small loads like cell phones. Let's say an important thing might be your Bluetooth music speaker, so you're not just dying of boredom when the power's out. But things like all small loads like that can all be run with our solar suitcases. And here's some places where the company that that makes these kits, they've sent them to Haiti, the Philippines, Nepal, and Puerto Rico after major disasters. And so the kits they send to those disasters are those yellow kits. Ours are blue, but they're conceptually the same on the inside. This is a picture of a recovery team, emergency rescue team working in Nepal after a huge quake in 2015. And here's a guy climbing a mountain with one of those suitcases on his back. And then here's a great picture of people, they're giving that woman medical treatment. And notice there's a light up on the pole that's being powered by the solar suitcase. And just imagine how much harder it would be to give people first aid and take care of them if there was no power. So, okay, so that's our presentation for today. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to post the assignment. There's a Google form, and I have links to this presentation and to I give you a link to We Share Solar, the organization, if you want to peek at it, and as well as after class, I'll post a video of this whole time that we've had together, so that if you came late or some people are absent, they'll be able to watch it and then know what to do. So what I'd like you to do